The New York Mets have a new manager. It's the final Baseball Insiders of the year. The owners and the players are meeting. Is Robert Murray excited? I'm sure he is about something. The Baseball Insider starts right now. Bert, we haven't been doing this podcast all year, but it's still the last episode of the year, so I think we should celebrate them. At least we started this podcast and have had some guests on this podcast and have gotten to know each other better. Good to see you, by the way, buddy.
Hey, good to see you too. Yeah, how are we going to celebrate this thing, Karma? Is there champagne on your end, or what?
I don't have any champagne. The only thing I have in front of me, I could put on like a fan-sided hat, like a baseball fan-sided. Let's celebrate with a little gold star.
Wow.
What do you think? I mean, like pitchers and catchers reporting, I don't know, kind of feels good to me. That's my celebration. Put on a fan-sided hat. What do you think?
Honestly, that's better than whatever I got, because I either have my phone or a water bottle, and like that hat is swag. It's very swaggy. It looks like Notre Dame colors from my end, so that fits where you're at right now. So
I mean, at the end of this pod, would you dump a little bit of the water on your head to celebrate? Was that it? Could we do that for the video portion of the pod?
Of course. Yeah. Let's make it happen.
Oh, this is exciting. All right. Watch the YouTube. We're doing the Burt water bottle last pod of the Baseball Insiders 2021 challenge. So no surprise, I guess. Buck Showalter landing in New York, right?
Yeah. Not a surprise at all. I think that's what everybody expected in baseball. And like, as soon as they ended up firing Luis Rojas, it was basically determined that it was Showalter's job to lose. And by all indications, Showalter was the guy that Steve Cohen wanted. And in the end, he ended up getting his guy. And but he made it clear behind the scenes that it was Billy Epler's search for a manager. He was not going to intervene. He was not going to make the decision. It was going to be Billy Epler. And lo and behold, here we are. So
Joe Espada, who, correct me if I'm wrong, he's interviewed a bunch of places now, right? Yep. Bench coach of the Astros gets passed over. Matt Quintero from the Rays, their bench coach also. Do you think they did this right? Do you think they made the right call?
I do. I think they ended up making the right call here, because this is a job that needed somebody with previous managerial experience, in my opinion. And Showalter has managed in the New York market before, so this is not going to be anything new to him. I do think they interviewed some very qualified candidates. Quintero ended up very much impressing the Mets in their interviews. And like it was Showalter's job to lose, but he made a good impression. Joe Espada is going to be a manager in the future as well. And I would imagine the same thing with Quintero, just because both of them they're established names. They come from good organizations, and you always see teams try to poach guys from the Rays just because they're a very well-oiled machine. So, but even though they're very good candidates, yeah, the Mets got the right guy here.
So he's been working with the MLB network. He's been working with the Yankees network. So hanging out in New York, he's got loads of talent around him and lots of money still to spend. I mean, Buck Showalter's got to be loving this moment in Buck Showalter time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, this is his fifth managerial gig, and this is the best roster he's inherited by a lot. Just because, I mean, look at the rotation. First of all, you have Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. You have an offense that has Francisco Lindor. You end up adding Starling Marte, Mark Canha, Eduardo Escobar too. I mean, you have some really talented pieces here. And knowing how Steve Cohen operates, they're probably not done, because he has pockets that are deeper than any owner in baseball, and he's willing to dig deep into his pockets if he ends up finding the player that he wants. And you also, I think it was Joel Sherman of the New York Post wonder if they could end up pursuing a guy like Freddie Freeman, which I think he was speculating there more than reporting. But I mean, even speculating that as a possibility after what they've done this winter just goes to show that Cohen can spend. And this is the ultimate gig for Buck Showalter here.
All right. Tough question on the spot here for you, Bert. But in the last 15 years, okay, yeah. And you don't have to go back 15. Just ballpark this in your mind.
Yeah, I'm barely 15 years old.
Right, exactly. So this is going to be a challenge for you. But if you had to rank how challenging the NL East was in comparison to the rest of the divisions in baseball? Where do you think it roughly falls? I don't have numbers in front of me, by the way, to back this up. So this is just a calm thought that I'd love your input on. My point is that I don't think it's been very strong. I mean, this hasn't been the Braves of the 90s NL East. Like,
No.
I mean, who's the best team that's come out of the NL East in the last 15 years? My point being is the Mets have, by the way, made the playoffs twice in the last 15 years, just underlining the ineptness that the Mets have had, right? I mean, this has not been this hasn't been the AL East the last 15 years, right?
No, for sure. This has not been the class of Major League Baseball by any means. I'd imagine I'd put them in the middle of the pack, maybe like because there's 6 divisions. I put them probably third or fourth, if I'm being real, just off the top of my head from what I'm thinking here. But immediately, like even going off of the past, you said they've won 2 division titles in the last 15 years. You're looking at right now for contention in that division. You're looking at the Phillies, who, I mean, they're probably going to end up signing another bat, I would think. I think a lot of people connect them with Kyle Schwarber still. You have the Atlanta Braves, who just won the World Series, so they're easily going to enter the season as the favorites to win the division. I got to put the Mets like almost right there with the Phillies, if not above the Phillies, in terms of like winning this thing for this year. And I think Showalter is going to be a big reason for that. I'm curious to see the kind of coaching staff he puts together to surround himself with. But like as you said, it's not been the best division. But I think Showalter is going to be capable of them maximizing that and possibly end up taking them to a division title or even a postseason berth in his first year there. I think there's a very real shot of that now.
I mean, if you go back World Series champions this year, Braves, the Nats in 19, right?
Yep.
In 15, the Mets got there. So that was one of their runs. But as far as champions go, then you have the Phillies in 08. Charlie Manuel, by the way, always got to get a Charlie Manuel mention when you get in there.
Love Charlie Manuel.
And before that, the Marlins in 03. So I mean, they middle of the pack is fair. Okay, yeah. I just look at it like, at least going forward, the Mets have a chance to, you would think, if they do things right, to dominate that division.
Yeah, and like it's going to end up being for a sustainable amount of time. It's not going to just be a 1-year thing, because a lot of the guys they have under contract are signed for more than 1 year. So like they're going to be built to win this year. They're going to be built to win next year, maybe even the year after that, which that's a very intriguing thing, especially like because Cohen wants to win a World Series. He wants as many bites of the apple, no pun intended, as he possibly can. And like that, like the players he ended up signing to the roster this year, the players that he's already had on the roster that are going to come back for next year, and then you combine that with Buck Showalter, like that gives you a very good chance. But they just need to add more, because I don't like this roster right now. While it's good, it's better. It's not enough to win the World Series.
Just for the record, I'm going to mention this every time Steve Cohen comes up. The pleaded guilty to insider trading and agreed to pay $1.8 billion in fines. If there's one guy that I'm rooting against in Major League Baseball, it would be Steve Cohen. So the old,
you're not alone there.
The old $1.8 billion in fines. There's a first class guy. I was watching. So have you watched? I think it's called Bad Money or Bad Sport. Bad Sport on Netflix. They go through all the cheaters from different walks of life. The one I watched last night, Bert, they were killing horses. They were killing horses in the equestrian world, which is the rich of the rich of the rich, because the horse was worth more on the insurance than it was worth in real life. So they would have this dude go in there and he would clip one ear and then do some other thing and basically electrocute the horse. Weird turn on the Baseball Insiders out of nowhere. But that's what these people did, man. They killed horses, billionaires, because they could get another extra $100,000 for the horse. I mean, how sick is that?
That's extremely sick. Well, why? Okay, I have many questions, Carl. Like, why the heck did you watch that?
It's a great series. It starts out with Arizona State in the 90s, and there was dudes who I distantly knew, won't name names here, but were involved in the fixing of games. And so it started out with that one, and then it got to a race car driver who he was funding his desire to be a race car driver by bringing in just oodles and oodles of marijuana in the most creative ways, and eventually got caught. I highly recommend it. Do you have Netflix?
I'm glad you. Okay, so get ready for another fun Bert fact here.
Yeah.
I got Netflix a month ago.
All right. Well, there you go.
I finally caved. I've been watching The Iron Fist, which very good, Carm. Very good.
Okay, I want, after we come back in 2022, last part of the year, I want you to have watched at least a couple of Bad Sport and give me your
Wow.
review. Okay, can you do
This is
that?
giving me major high school flashbacks to having homework over Christmas break. So, but I'll do
Yeah.
just for you, Carm. I'll do it. I'll make it happen.
Just watch one. Just watch one. I think you'll. I bet I'll get a text from you. Hey, Carm, thanks for this recommendation. I think you'll enjoy it. The Alpinist is another great one, by the way.
All right, I'm adding them both to my list. By the way, I texted you before 6:00 this morning.
I know.
You responded almost right away. So
I was like, this guy is the greatest. 6 a.m. here. I want to talk some Buck Showalter, and it's going to be a phenomenal pod. And what time were you up today, Bert? What was the way?
I got up at, I think, 5:15, so I slept in. Yeah, it was pretty. I woke up on Sunday morning because I was super hyped for my fantasy football matchup. I woke up at 3:15, and I had a pot of coffee in me by about 4:30. So, yeah, that for the people listening, don't be like me.
So wait a second. Sunday morning, 3:15, you're in bed, you wake up, you start thinking about your fantasy football matchup.
That's right.
And you get out of bed.
Oh, I get out of bed. I immediately have coffee made in the fridge because I love cold coffee. And I start pouring it and I start slinging it, and it's going down good. Huh?
And then what happens? It's 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
You're hyped up on coffee. The games aren't for 8 more hours. What do you do?
I go work out. That's where I end up burning off all the caffeine and put the goods and try to get the gains. So it was a very good workout, by the way.
You got to the gym at what time?
Oh boy, it was probably, I waited a little bit, which was a mistake. I probably went around 6:00.
6:00.
Yep.
All right, then you're back home by what time?
I ended up.
I don't know why this.
Like 8:30 in that range.
8:30. I don't know why this is so interesting to me, but I find this fascinating. Were you always that kid growing up that boom? If my eyes open up, I'm not going back to bed. I'm up and I'm going. That's what I do. I'm Robert Murray.
I used to be a guy who woke up at like 9 to 11 o'clock every morning.
So how did this change for the people out there right now who are thinking, you know what, I want to be early morning guy. There's a reason why I'm tuning into the Baseball Insiders. This is going to motivate me for 2022. I'm going to put it on my New Year's resolutions. How did you do it?
It just happened. I woke up one morning and it was just like, why am I up so early? So I just got out of bed and I felt super productive. I got my workout in. I was home by like 9 o'clock and I had so much time left in the day. I'm like, I got to make this a habit now. And I've been doing it ever since, Carmen. And life is good. You can, I'm telling you folks, like if you want the Robert Murray experience, or if you want to be like me, don't. It's not a good time.
I think this is great. I love it. Maybe you're motivating me right now. All right, let me just get back on track with Showalter real fast. Listen, let me give you some Buck Showalter facts, Bert. American League Manager of the Year with the Yankees, with the Rangers, with the Orioles. He also, of course, managed the Diamondbacks, did not win an NL Manager of the Year. He's got 1,551 wins compared to 1,517 losses, so a little bit over 500. All right. He was with Baltimore for 8 years, which I feel like that in itself should put you in the Hall of Fame. He went to the playoffs 3 times with the O's. 3 times.
That's very impressive. That's really 37.5% of the time for people doing math back at home.
There you go, 37.5%. He went to the ALCS in 2014. They lost to the Royals. Feels like a Hall of Famer, Buck Showalter.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'll tell you, like, you have a team where, like, if you're Steve Cohen, you want to win a World Series within 5 years of becoming owner. So you're already 2 years down. You have 3 years to go to fulfill that promise. You go all in this winter by signing Scherzer and the three offensive players they did, and probably are going to spend more. What better guy to lead the charge or lead the way than by hiring Buck Showalter to manage that team? Like that's just perfect to me. A Hall of Fame manager doing that, sign me up.
I mean, if Showalter was managing you, you might be up at 215. Seriously, he might.
Yeah,
he could take you to the next level, Showalter.
honestly, like that. I may set my alarm clock now for 2:15 just so I can like be on Showalter time. You know, Tom Coughlin used to have Coughlin time back when he was the Giants coach. So hey, maybe I do Showalter time now.
For the record, our Sean Daly, who does 7,000 things for Fansided, including producing this podcast and has built our TikTok channel and God knows what else he's doing over there. But he's like, his take on Showalter's like, the dude's like Tom Thibodeau, which I think, as a huge NBA guy, Bert, I love that comp, because Tibbs is going to get the most out of your team. He's also going to perhaps burn out some guys and maybe rub them the wrong way. But in the back end, they all come back and say, like, I appreciate Tibbs. Like, you would get this, like a guy like Joakim Noah, whose career maybe ended up a little bit earlier than he wanted, still would say great things about Tibbs, because Tibbs made him a lot of money and he got to reach his potential, which maybe, I don't know what Francisco Lindor's thinking right now with Showalter showing up and he's already gotten paid. He doesn't necessarily need somebody, consistently on him, but
yeah.
Maybe he can, even get him to the next level at this stage of his career.
It wouldn't shock me at all, because there was comments that were recently made by Manny Machado to Brick Rowley of The Athletic that he credits Showalter for having him be the player that he is today, and taking him and taking him under his wing and teaching him some lessons as a young player with the Baltimore Orioles. And I think he can definitely do that with the young players on the Mets, even the veteran players like Lindor, like you mentioned. So there's going to be a lot of benefit here. And I like Sean he's a very bright guy, also a Philadelphia Eagles fan, which only adds to his case here. So that was a very good comp by him. I thought that was, you would obviously know better being a Chicago guy and being a Bulls fan. But like, to me, that was a very good comp. I can see that for sure.
I love Tibbs, and Tibbs is not for everyone. But and that's the thing. I think it's the same thing with Buck. Like, hey, a little intense there, buddy. Although he's got this underrated sense of humor too. So I don't know.
Confirmed. Yeah. I mean, I've never talked to Buck before, but like, we have plenty of mutual friends, and they've all said the same thing to me about him, is that he's a very sneaky, funny human being. So that'll surely play in that market unless things go sour.
Fifth manager for the Mets over the last 4 years. All right. And
ouch.
Yep. 4 losing seasons in the last 5, 10 in the last 13.
Yep. And
2 playoff appearances, I mentioned, in the last 15 years for the New York Mets, which, by the way, if I'm Steve Cohen or Billy Epler or whoever, I'm looking around like, who can manage an organization that never wins and has done an incredibly pathetic job of even establishing themselves as credible? Oh, this guy took the Orioles to the playoffs 3 out of 8 years. This is like I think it makes a lot of sense on many levels. Bert, you're a huge Brewers guy, right?
Yeah, I grew up in the area. I didn't grow up a Brewer fan though, Carm. So,
but you live in Wisconsin. That's
correct.
Good enough.
Correct.
I figured I could ask you because there's not a lot of baseball news here going on outside of Buck, but the Pittsburgh Pirates have hired former Milwaukee assistant Andy Haynes as their hitting coach. He's taken over for Rick Eckstein, who was fired at the end of the season. 3 years as the Brewers hitting coach. You are the best person on the planet who could talk about why a Pittsburgh Pirate fan who've had zero reason for excitement for at least 3, if not 10 years. It's not really 10, but you get the point. Maybe should they be excited that, oh my God, we just landed Andy frickin' Haynes, man. Go Pirates. What do you think?
I actually think Brewers fans are going to get on me for saying this, but I think they actually should be they should be optimistic about that hire. And like, obviously, people are going to point to Christian Yelich's struggles along with Keston Hiras, but I think that hire is going to end up paying off because they have some very nice young players in that team, Key Brian Hayes and O'Neal Cruz. By the way, O'Neal Cruz, I have heard from so many different scouts and even some players there that he is an absolute freak show. And like O'Neal Cruz is going to be a very prominent dude in the future. And like having Haynes there, I think is going to help him. He's very good at the fundamental work. He's very good at building relationships. And you got to see it with the Brewers. And last year, Colton Wong had a career season. Omar Narvaez was an all-star. Luis Urias went from 0 home runs to like 20 plus homers. And like there was some other players in the Brewers who had very good seasons that kind of got overlooked. And I know the Brewers, when they ended up letting go of Haynes, there was a big internal struggle over that decision because they very much value what Haynes and his his assistant hitting coach, Jacob Cruz, did. They think they're very good coaches, but they just wanted a different voice there. And I think being in a different setting is going to allow Haynes to be a very effective hitting coach.
See, I knew you had that info. That's why you are the baseball insider, Robert Murray.
Cheers to that, baby.
Cheers to that, brother. Do you got any inside information on what's going on with the players and the owners? They met for the first time since the old lockout started, which was just preliminary and working on some level of logistics. And but perhaps there's something that's positive that you can report, or negative, either way, actually.
Yeah, I'll give you what one of my sources told me when I checked in. I think it was yesterday I checked in. It was, and I quote, "No progress, nothing to report." So
yes.
Yep.
So
that, yeah. I'm telling you, like, I'm still of the belief that we're gonna have baseball start on time next year. I'm still believing that. There's more people, I'll admit, that are pessimistic about it. But like I'm still in the camp that believes we'll have baseball on time next year.
Is that because you just live your life in an optimistic get up at 3:15 way, or is it based on anything substantial?
I mean, I'm an optimistic guy. You've noticed that. Yeah, you've noticed that pretty quickly.
I have.
Yeah. Hey, it's the only way to live life. But yeah, I'll say I'll base it on mostly gut, but also like some intel. I just cannot see, coming off of that COVID year, these guys delaying the regular season and losing out on more money. I think they can't do it. Like, they both want money, and losing some of that just over these negotiations, I can't see that happening again.
I hope you're right, brother. I am with apparently the public on this one. I don't think baseball will start on time, but I'm only basing that on, I'm basing it on every article that I read that says that they're incredibly far apart, and there's a lot of angst between the players and the owners, and it's not good. And we watched what happened last year with the pandemic and how they could never actually get to a deal, and the owners had to implement a 60-game season. So that would be based on recent history. That's why I would say that I'm going to guess that baseball starts May the 16th. Let's go with May 16th.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
I'd take a May 16th. That would be fine. The baseball insiders will survive, that gets us to the part of the podcast where we celebrate our first quarter year of being in business, Bert. Anything jump to mind that you would like to celebrate the most on this brand new partnership that hopefully is going to amount to major things for both of us?
Yeah. Well, first of all, like, I think I would be remiss without, like, number one, celebrating the friendship I got with you, because like you're the absolute man, Carm. Yeah, you're my guy. So you bring out the best of me, and yeah, like, all joking aside, I appreciate you with all my heart. You're the man.
Back at you, brother. It's thank you for saying that. You did not have to do that, but I love you back, Bert. You're a unique, talented, hard driving, young superstar who I am enjoying being partnered with in this baseball venture. by the way, thanks to Sean and Mike and Hunter and everybody else who's pushed us to do some, Patrick Allen, who's pushed us to do this pod in the best possible way, and for the work that everyone's done getting it off the ground. But outside of that, any moments that you'd like to celebrate? Any stumbles that we edited out that you'd like to underline right now? For either one of us. By the way, this is take 2 of this podcast after I had the whole internet crash on me, and I've much more enjoyed this take 2 than the way we started take 1. So I'm happy with how this show's gone.
Yeah, hey, you and me both. Yeah, like because I told you this off camera, but yeah, like I was talking, and all of a sudden, like you just froze, and you just had this blank stare of like looking super bored at me, and I'm like, am I this boring? And like there he goes again. He's back at it again with the I'm boring him to death. But like a moment, like I'll give you 2 moments here, like one good, and then one like that got me in trouble. So the one good was right before the lockout, saying that Javier Baez was a prime target for the Tigers, and then that Corey Seager was very much in play for the Rangers. And then all of a sudden, like not even 24 hours later, both happened.
Bang, bang.
I thought that was a very good moment for the pod. And then a moment that got me in trouble. And this is probably the most trouble I've ever gotten in baseball, is on one of our previous pods. I went into detail about my mashed potato slander. And I put it on my mom, Janice, God bless her soul. And all of a sudden I'm at a family event the other day, and she comes up to me and she's like, "Hey, I finally listened to the pod." And I was like, "Oh, what do you think?" She said, "Oh, I've only listened to 1 episode." And I'm like, "Well, what do you think?" And she looked at me. "You don't like my mashed potatoes?" And like, I was like, "Oh boy, this is not good." Like, so the 1 episode she ended up listening to was the mashed potato slander. And I have to put something out there for the record, is my mom is the one who cooks the potatoes. And then she gives the mashing and the seasoning and all the other stuff to my dad to do it. So my mashed potato slander was misdirected. It was meant for my dad, and I want to issue a public apology to my mother, who I love very much, and hope she hears this too.
Do you not love your dad?
Oh, I love my dad, but he just can't make mashed potatoes. My dad's gonna listen to this. He hasn't listened to an episode yet, Carm. He even told me that. Which
Papa Murray has not been checking out the Baseball Insiders, and
no.
now the last episode of the year, he's gonna find out that his son threw him under the bus to try to protect his relationship with his mother.
Yeah, I'm digging myself a hole here, Carm. Neil Murray is his name, by the way. So we're I'll have some explaining to do, but I love him.
Bill Murray? Did I hear that right?
Neil Murray.
Neil Murray.
Yeah, okay. Not Bill.
I was that would have been exciting. Neil. Let me just tell you something. If I was your son and I had attacked my mother the way Robert did, I would have left it alone and I wouldn't have dragged you into it. But Robert felt the need to try to make things better with mom and just threw dad down the river.
I did. Although I got to clarify my stance here, Carm. It was my mom. She requested that I do it just so like the public did not. So we got.
Now even worse. Now you threw a mom back under the bus. Yeah. Both parents are just being dragged under the 18-wheeler here, buddy. Yeah, it's okay.
Honestly, like, do you have a shovel, Carm, so I can dig myself out of this hole? This is not good.
My mom said, "Blame dad." So now what's your mom's name?
Janice.
Janice, you just got to own this. I'm going to just tell you, your mashed potatoes, I've never had them, but they stink. You have bad mashed potatoes. Don't get Neil. Don't blame this on Neil and his seasoning. If seasoning can only do so much when you're dealing with a faulty base, and you're the base here, and I think you got to take the feedback on the Baseball Insiders and try to be better. That's the end of the day. You're the Pittsburgh Pirates of mashed potatoes. And what are the Pirates doing? They're hiring Andy Haynes to be their hitting coach. So, hey.
And maybe we hire Andy Haynes to make our mashed potatoes.
The future is what you make of it. And in 22, 2022, we're gonna have better mashed potatoes. Now I got myself in trouble, by the way, with your family.
Yeah, so you're no longer invited to the family Christmas, Carm. So I got that order from my mom.
Okay.
Yeah. By the way, so in 2022, I think this is no longer going to be a baseball podcast. This is going to be a Netflix and mashed potatoes pod. So,
no, well, we can definitely get that in there. All right, we've come to the part of the show, Bert, that you said that you would celebrate 2022 with a water bottle dumping or something. We are celebrating 2021. Robert Murray is going to do the Robert Murray water bottle challenge. To really just underline how much he's loved this podcast with yours truly and Fansided. So as we say goodbye, this is the moment in time. Would you like to say anything before you do this?
I very much regret agreeing to do this, but hey, let's get weird, baby.
Okay. Are you going to back up from the microphone?
Probably a good idea.
Yeah. We want, there we go. Let's say, let's say
pour on here, Carm.
I think I'd go for the whole thing, baby. Let's go.
Like half the thing. It's 16. Oh, screw it. Why not?
There it is. Yes, Bert. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go.
This podcast is wild. You gotta watch the Baseball Insiders in 2022. How do you feel?
I feel very wet.
Hey, yeah. Robert, I'm looking forward to killing it with you in 2022, and great to get it
likewise.
Up. And I appreciate that you're wide awake here. So.
Yeah. It's went down into my pants, Carm. It feels like I peed myself. So.
Hey, that's a familiar feeling for me, buddy. That's what happens when you get a little older. Thank you for watching, for real. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Find us wherever you find podcasts: Google Play, Spotify. You know what I'm talking about. Get yourself some Baseball Insiders wherever you need it. And yes. Hit that like, subscribe, tell a friend. We appreciate it. Bert, Happy New Year. Merry. Happy holidays to everybody.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And thank you, Carm, for getting me just completely soaked over here. That was a very good time. I enjoyed that.
We'll see you in 2022, baby. Thanks for watching.